All right, gang. Welcome back to the No Jerry Podcast, episode 6, week 6, a weekly podcast by Americans for Americans. We focus on what matters to you as you chase the American dream. Make sure to join our community on X, YouTube, Kick, Twitch, and TikTok. And E, what are we getting into today?
Oh, well, we got a few things to get into. Big Tapper's new book, Original Sin, flips his old Biden defense, drawing some irony flack. Trump's pushing Musk's Doge mandate. Federal workers must justify their jobs or get cut. The White House Doge subcommittee exposes U.S. aid shady funding. Polls show that 67% of federal debt as unsustainable, 60% back Doge cuts. On Rogan's podcast, Musk pretty much trashed the government in a few different ways, which is fine. Everything he said, I agree with. European leaders are panicking over Trump's Ukraine peace push, and Zelensky seeks a U.S. mineral deal. Imagine that. Trump's crypto reserve highlights XRP, SOL, ADA. Wild times we got going on, buddy.
Yeah, man. I mean, within the time frame, we've also, we don't have it in our notes, but we'll touch briefly on the whole Epstein files. What's the update on that? We don't really have any more information than we did the last time we recorded. But yeah, man, to dive into the article states CNN's Jake Tapper, who covered up Biden's mental decline, is now releasing a book titled Original Sin. And after years of gaslighting the public, basically in interviews and arguing with people on national television, basically Jake Tapper profits off the new book where he talks about exposing Biden's mental health decline and the media's cover-up, which people were talking about 2 years, 3 years before his presidency even ended. And it was clear as day. And you had the White House press secretary telling everybody he's as sharp as a tack. And that was the line that kept thrown around, was sharp as a tack, like all the outlets and all the same scripts that they use. But yeah, he used to tear into anyone suggesting Biden was experiencing cognitive decline, dismissed as merely a stutter. Now that Biden's out of the picture, Tapper's cashing in on the book, on its obvious decline and the media silence. And yeah, I mean, basically everybody's talking about how irony has never been so profitable.
Yeah, man. I mean, that whole thing is pretty crazy just because, like you said, he literally did a 180 flip-flop, which, I mean, given everything that's been happening lately, that's not very surprising at all. But just some notes I got on that. So in 2020, CNN's Jake Tapper completely dismissed Laura Trump when she mentioned Biden's cognitive decline, which is madness that he's now profiting off of that, which, like I said, it's not too surprising. But he also spent 2 years spreading the Russian collusion hoax and then a couple years later denied he ever did. He also spent years covering up Biden's decline, and now he wants you to believe he was exposing it. What a fraud, dude. Like, literally, word for word, he's pretty much living out the description of a fraud.
Yeah, and it should. I mean, they won't talk about it. Arguably, people will say that we shouldn't cover it at all. But it's the fact that, like, now you really see these people, what they believe in truly is not what they're pushing in their job and their news outlet. They're getting told what to say because clearly he knew what was going on then. Still chose to push the propaganda that he was fed. And it's just sad. I hope it's a, waking up call for anybody who watches CNN. I don't know if anybody still does. I don't think anyone who's listening to us does. But yeah, I mean, people were talking about Biden's decline for a long time, and press release even said his family and his senior aides were so convinced that he could only beat Trump again. They lied to themselves, allies, and the public about his condition and limitations because they truly believed that he could beat him, which there's arguments that he didn't beat him the first time.
It's just pretty much all clownery at this point. I mean, there's a reason why it's still the running joke for a lot of people that Biden was never calling the shots to begin with. So, like you said, we all knew from the jump.
Yeah, and it's the thing to remember, too, is that, like, they're not going to stop. Like, the stuff that they're pushing, they're going to keep pushing as long as they're able to stay on the air because there's midterms coming up next year, and then there's another election coming up in 2028. So they're going to continue to try to tear down this agenda of basically making the government more efficient, bringing down the oligarchs that continue to fund or, profit off these NGOs, and to continue to not put the American people's interests first at heart. So, yeah, it looks like here you got some notes. I know Elon and Doge sent out an email on what you did last week to all federal employees. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think it's something that's honestly quite necessary because if you think about it, at the end of the day, every other job does that anyway. If any other job is seeing what you're doing day to day, this is just on a much larger scale. Yeah, some notes I got on it. Since our last show, Doge sent out an email to all federal employees and the email stated, "What did you do last week? Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullet points of what you accomplished last week, and CC include your manager. Please do not send any classified information, links, or attachments. Deadline is Monday at 11:59 p.m. And Trump said, "If you do not answer this, I guess you get fired," boy. Exclamation point, exclamation point.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I agree. If you're too incompetent and too stubborn to reply with just 5 bullet points, you should be fired anyways. No excuses. It's like a simple thing. Everybody gets evaluated at their job. If you have poor performance, you're let go. And it should be any different because you're a federal employee for the country that you should have any special treatment because, and there's people there's like, federal workers coming out and they're like, well, I'm already stressed and overworked and this is just putting so much on my plate. It's 5 bullet points. And some people, if they truly enjoy their job and they're good at it, should have no problem putting 5 bullet points of what they did last week and why it was significant. And the ones who choose not to is because they can't, is what I'm assuming. And if you don't want to, like, why you're going to stand on this high horse? Well, you don't have a fucking job then.
It's so crazy, dude. Elon literally even said it on that new Rogan podcast that, they're not going to go through and verify these things. It's literally 5 simple bullet points. Like, it boils down to, he even said you could go on Grok AI, get them to give you 5 bullet points, put it on there and just submit it. But if you're not even willing to try to defend yourself or, speak for the work that you've done, then that shows all that they need to know.
Makes their job easier. I mean, that's what it was. It was a feeler email. It was a feeler to find out, okay, who's the ones who are completely incompetent and aren't willing to, okay, so you don't want to because you feel like what Doge is doing is wrong, so you're not going to reply to the email, so you're not trying to work towards getting things better.
Right, bye.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a story. It's a non-story to me. It's something where if any other president did it, if anybody but Trump and Elon would have done it, then it would never have got news story to begin with. Because during Biden's presidency against Obama's presidency, they fired federal employees then. We never heard a fucking leak of information then about it. So why is it just because Orange Man bad, he fired some federal employees? What does cutting waste, fraud, and abuse? What does that look like when you're overstaffed and underperforming? That means you're going to have to let people go. And that's just the sad reality of it is sometimes you lose your job and sometimes you have to get a new job. And that's just everyday American has to deal with that. So you're not any special because you're a federal employee.
Nope. And all of them are supposed to be working for the people anyway. If they're not with,
exactly. They're paid by taxpayer dollars and we support what they're doing.
And if they're not one to, even try at all, then that's on them, bro. And they can find a new job. They probably don't deserve to be working in the federal government at that point anyway.
Exactly. And like at this point with something as crazy as what they're doing and as like controversial as it is, like you have to have everybody who's part of it has to be on board. Like you can't be, I mean, we even talking about, we'll get a little bit of the Epstein files, how there's people who are getting fired and they're threatened to take, secrets and confidential information to other countries and enemies of China or Russia. And it's like, we don't want you here. If you're just so quick to just give up your country like that, then, you should never have been here to begin with. But yeah, I mean, I'll kick your ass on the way out.
Yep, 100%. And this would have never even been an issue if they weren't just pushing, trying to get, like, how they hired so many more people in the IRS and just a bunch of useless spending and waste. And those people aren't even working.
How ironic is that we can't audit the government, but the government can hire hundreds and thousands of new IRS agents to come and chase us down and audit us.
That's about as ironic as it gets, buddy.
Yeah. And so there was a subcommittee over Doge, and despite all the resistance from the bureaucracy, Doge has saved around $51 billion of taxpayer money. Doge charges on as the media and Democratic representatives will lie and say he saved money. Yeah, he saved money, but it's only like $9 billion. So to them, it's only $9 billion, right? It's only $9 billion. And that they say we need to stop him because it's reckless and will crumble the government. And it's whenever this is constant, just, this is what could happen, this is what he's gonna do. And it's unnecessary because what you said, bro, there's notes here that USAID funds were bypassing security checks. This is in the hearing. This is someone on file saying USAID funds were bypassing security checks and ended up in the hands of Hamas. How do you fund terrorist groups?
And how does it get no coverage? How is nobody talking about it?
And people want to talk about Doge releasing information and having access to all of our information. Like we didn't have that huge social security number breach last year under the Biden administration, where thousands upon thousands of American Social Security info was released and hacked and released to the public, to the black market. And that was covered for maybe a day or two, never talked about again until some different people have access to the information. So I think it's hypocritical with the whole media thing. And going back to Jake Tepper and all that, you just, as time goes on, if you're paying attention long enough, you'll see the hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah, bro. And honestly, from what I can tell, especially here lately, you really don't even have to pay attention that hard. If you just read just a little bit, you'll see, at least a couple stories where you're seeing it from one side or the other. But yeah, we see what's going on here.
Yeah. And it's fine. I mean, they can keep toting these same stories over and over again. It's not going to help them win midterms. It's not going to help them win elections. So by all means, keep acting crazy and keep saying crazy shit. Makes it easier on us as the voter. So yeah, I know Rogan's been on a fucking tear lately. I think you have Woody Harrelson, Elon Musk, and then Bill Murray all in 1 week. So I haven't even caught up on all the Bill Murray pod yet, but some really good interviews. The one with Elon was pivotal, especially to anyone who actually gives a shit on what Elon has to say, because if you're going to trash the man, at least hear what he's got to say.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just before we switch over to that, though, I got some notes on that Doge subcommittee.
That's right. Yeah. Run that up.
Let me get through these real quick. So the subcommittee has sparked bipartisan contention. Republicans led by Green frame it as a critical effort to curb a $36 trillion national debt and support Trump's mandate, often citing specific examples like excessive foreign aid spending or outdated payment systems. Democrats, including members like Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas and Representative Robert Garcia from California, have criticized it as a vehicle for Musk to influence and a threat to federal programs, accusing it of prioritizing cuts over governance. That's madness. The subcommittee uncovered major flaws at U.S. aid, showing taxpayer money reaching groups tied to terrorism. Meanwhile, USAID's lobbyists push for more funds as its partners work against U.S. interests. Democrat Representative Garcia reveals that he's only participating in the Doge subcommittee to stifle and delay the process. That's insane, dude. There should be some kind of reprimation for people that literally are just trying to do that, delay the processes of government, facilities, for lack of better words. Brand new polling also dropped in 26 revealed that people love it. The U.S. federal debt unsustainable, 67% said yes. Is Doge helping make major cuts? 60% said yes. Should Doge have access to this sensitive data? 58% said yes. So
that's the big one. That's the big one where it's in the favor of people who are for it, but there's a big number of people who are unweary about it. And that's the uncertainty and the scary thing about change, because this is something that has not been done since the 40s, since the 50s, like to truly audit the whole government, figure out where every penny is going, figure out if every worker is doing what they said they're going to do because they're making taxpayer dollars. I mean, there's videos of workers who are federal employees and are talking about how, my job was easy. We're working at home. We only have to go in the office once or twice a week. And now they're irate because they have to go in 5 days a week. Well, I'm sorry, you have to actually go to work like the rest of us. I know there's a lot of people who make a great living at home, and it's not for everybody. But for businesses, it is more efficient by the numbers to have your employees come to work and be focused in the environment surrounded by other people doing the same work. And when you have all this government money funding real estate for these businesses and these office spaces, and you don't have people coming to the office spaces, that's wasted money on the real estate that taxpayers are paying for.
Yeah, you're definitely right, dude. And just besides that, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, dude, COVID made a lot of people really lazy. A lot of people got free money. A lot of people got at-home jobs. And now, you try to change that up a little bit and people act like they're losing their minds. It's like, it's okay to go to work, bro. Whether that's at home or it's in office, it's fine. People need to definitely be getting back into the swing of things by this point, getting used to going to work rather than working from home. Like you said, I know a lot of people make good money working from home now, especially since then, but it's not a bad thing to go in the office from time to time.
And just like we stated, if you don't like it, go find another job. There's plenty of them out there hiring, whether you got a shift field or not. I get it, it's hard. We shouldn't have to, this, that, and the third, but sometimes you have to. Sometimes you got to put your big woman pants on, and you have to. There's only two kinds of pants, man pants.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, we can go ahead and get into that.
Oh, dude, hold on. Who the fuck is this guy saying I'm only participating to try to sabotage it? How shitty is that? Like, why are you even a public service member when you are literally trying to go against what the majority of Americans want? For what? For your own personal bias? Is there money behind it? That's just
And
bullshit.
that's what I'm saying. How can these basically, state officials be doing things like this, come on record, say these things, and then have no accountability held to them for the words that they're saying? I get we have free speech, yeah, but that speech goes along with an action. And the action of literally being in office and then holding up another part of the government's operation that they're in the middle of doing, how is that not like illegal or something? You should at least lose your position in office.
Well, it's just like if we go on social media and we're blabbing about our job, we're susceptible to be fired. And
Right.
it's like when you look at Dan Crenshaw and what he said about Tucker, he said, next time I see him, I'll kill that motherfucker. He's a congressman. You cannot be going around, hot mic or not, and saying you're going to kill someone because you don't agree with them. And this is on the Republican side. So like we always say, there's good and bad on both sides. We're not always stuck on one side of the aisle. This man's on a hot mic going against Tucker Carlson, who has called him out for being a fake Republican, for being a Texas representative and being the least like adamant about protecting the border down there. And he's going to say on a hot mic, next time I see him, kill that motherfucker. You got to be held accountable for that. It's different than us saying it on a pod. Completely different than someone who is in a power position.
Yeah, dude, that's actually insane. I mean, it's bad enough for, like you said, for just a regular person to be saying something like that, but somebody in Congress, bro, that should be damn near immediate grounds for losing that position. That doesn't even make any sense. No.
So yeah, and then I mean, and they talked about it too. Dude, that interview with Rogan was pretty good between Elon Musk and Rogan. I'll let you dive into it, but I remember the one thing that stuck out to me, man, and CNN actually got butthurt over it, was Joe was like, with that whole attempted assassination attempt on Trump, CNN did not cover any of his rallies live, that whole campaign. And then all of a sudden, that's the one rally in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania that they had live coverage that whole Saturday. I mean, it's a great question to ask. And I love that they got mad about it enough to make it an article topic, because we're just bringing the conversation back up. As much as they want to sweep under the rug, you have an article talking about how you're upset because Joe Rogan called you out. You're just making the conversation start back up again.
Yeah, that's crazy. They honestly, at that point, just playing into it themselves and giving the situation more eyes and hopefully open up more people's eyes to realize how there's no way that that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
Especially the crazy people who think that Trump planned that attempted assassination. Right. I'm not trusting anybody on this planet. My mom, my grandpa's a vet. I don't trust anybody to barely miss my head to make me look cool.
No, absolutely not.
It sounds crazy, but people believe that. There's people out there who truly believe that. A lot of people.
Yes, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, bro, how we've talked about it 1,000 times. It doesn't make no sense that there were so many eyes and ears there, fucking cell phones everywhere. People saw the guy literally, and then nothing was done. But yeah, that's a whole other
hours
insane,
before.
Yeah, that's a whole other insane topic. But
so yeah, go ahead and run into that interview more. I know that was a really, really good one. I think I ran for about 3 hours.
Yeah, dude, it was fire. But so basically, Musk is criticizing the U.S. government for a good portion of it, and just the spending, calling it poorly, basically labeling the government as a poorly run business with unsustainable financial practices, which I would say is extremely accurate. Specifically targeted Social Security, labeling it as a Ponzi scheme, and highlighted the inefficiency of organizations like USAID. Extremely accurate. He spoke again about how he could have brought the astronauts from the space station home already, but discussed how Biden would not approve it. Absolute madness. He sees colonizing Mars as something that is essential for sustaining humanity, just based on the inevitable natural disasters that can happen to the planet, that have happened before and eliminated whole, races, basically. Yeah, but Musk did not shy away from the social critiques. He called NGOs a gigantic scam, arguing many are profit-driven under humanitarian disguise. And he also addressed immigration fraud, claiming that systematic abuse in the U.S. system wastes resources, which it absolutely does. I mean, the abuse of the system has wasted just so many resources over the years. And this is something that we've talked about for ages, and even way back when, people joking about it, like, oh, where's my tax money go? I don't see any of it. And now we're literally seeing how much of it is just completely wasted. And
because of Doge.
Yeah, and it's enraging, but it's almost so crazy at this point that it's almost comical, because it's like, how? Just how?
It brings
a
sense of peace too, to at least like, there was most of us that thought we would never get here. But
Yeah.
then 80 years, it would just keep on going. The system's too strong. There's too much money. There's too much power. There's no way we get to this point.
No. But here we are. So like you said, it's a great thing. And it's definitely something to be happy about. And I think it's going to end up being definitely a way better of a situation or way better of a thing to have happened to us than what could have been. So I'll take it 100%.
We just got to keep those two alive. We got a long way ahead and a lot of money and power and marksmen out there.
Dude, we ain't seen nothing yet. We ain't seen nothing yet, but I'm not convinced that, Musk could be bulletproof or something. I don't know. I think he's an alien, so he could do any kinds of crazy things. We'll see.
Yeah, it's crazy. In the pod, he literally goes, "Yeah, I'm an alien. My home planet's Mars. I'm just trying to get back there." And I was like, "He's not kidding."
Yeah, but then he'll say also super seriously that he doesn't believe in aliens. But it's like, yeah, bro, that's why.
Yeah, but he doesn't believe in aliens because if we were working with aliens, then he would know because he has the best technology. And I'm like, We'll leave that up to decide. I think we'll figure that out in our lifetime. Hopefully, we'll have some kind of contact or realization of aliens somewhere or something. It's not that important. It's not the most important task at hand, obviously. But a couple things one thing that stuck out to me was this: what Rogan said. He was like, "Thank you so much for buying Twitter. I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. We were headed down a path of censorship and control of narratives that was unprecedented. What they did with Biden laptop story and the 51 former intelligence agents saying this was a Russian disinformation was completely crazy. And that's what we were talking about earlier with if he really won the 2020 elections, because the narrative was so twisted and they had all these people so scared about COVID. We were in the election year of 2020. We were in the thick of it. And it was an event now allegedly was leaked out of a lab funded by us in China. Now, whether there was an intentional leak or an accidental leak is still up in the air. It's still alleged. I think it was intentional. I think it was something to push something in Trump's plate to spin that. I was like, see, this happened under Trump. Even though it wasn't technically Trump's fault, it's recency bias. It's going to be something that pushed it. And then when you have the Hunter Biden laptop story, all the stories coming up about Biden's corrupt run when he was vice president with Obama and all his ties to Ukrainian energy companies and China companies, all that stuff was suppressed. Now, was it election fraud necessarily by book of definition? No, it wasn't, because they didn't go in there and mess with the voting machine. But when you spin the narrative and you have control of the media and you're letting certain stories come up that are pro this side and negative this side, then that is up for means of discussion of, was it legitimate? In my opinion, it was not legitimate. And that's why you have all these cabinet members for Trump in these subcommittee hearings with Congress and Senate, and they're asking them, well, when they're talking about, they should be talking about important stuff about what you're going to do on the job, the different stuff that's been done for the job in the history and how you're going to do different, or how you're going to do better. They're like, well, now that you're working with Trump, will you accept that he lost the 2020 election? Will you say it on the record right now? And when you're under oath, you can't lie. So if I truly believe that it was not a legitimate election, I'm not going to lie under oath. So then that's why they kept saying Joe Biden won the election. I'm not going to say Trump lost the election because I don't truly believe Trump lost the election.
And he didn't, dude. I've seen so many different graphs and things just showing how many people in general voted that year compared to all years prior. And the numbers are astounding to see just how many more people allegedly voted in 2020.
Yeah.
There's no way that election was not rigged, bro. I mean, I'll stand on that 15 toes in the ground. There is no way that it wasn't, just solely based off of how many people voted in 2020 compared to all years prior. The numbers were just so inflated, it quite literally does not even make sense.
But one thing that they talked about on the pod was just the efficiency and how people say, well, Elon didn't really build Tesla and he didn't build anything. He just poached off other people's ideas and hard work. He's not Bill Gates. That's what Bill Gates did. 100%. He did not create Microsoft. The same way with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. He stole it, made it his own. And honestly, I don't even think he made it his own in that sense with just Microsoft. But Elon with Tesla, they didn't even have a prototype. They didn't have anything in the works. And also when it talks about SpaceX and what they've been able to do, he was able to create a rocket for 20th the cost of what the U.S. NASA uses to spend on rockets. And he is good at being efficient and getting the most work done. And when people question that he's not qualified or he's unintelligent, that is the biggest, craziest take that Congresswomen are saying, to Congresswomen in particular, who are saying, oh, he's unintelligent. he don't need to be working in the government because he's not smart. He's literally a rocket scientist. When you say it's not that hard, it's not rocket scientist, he is a rocket scientist. It is not rocket science to figure out what's going on with the government. It might take a little while, it might piss a lot of people off, but it's not rocket science. He knows about rocket science.
Bro, and he even said in the podcast that honestly, everything is pretty much being easier than what he thought it was going to be, because he was thinking maybe he's going to come in here and it's just all these processes and everything are messed up, so they'll have to rework the way that they do them. But he's just said that basically there's just no processes in line at all. That basically all they got to do is put the processes in place to have things done the correct and most, like fair way, and it'll run perfectly. He said that just, that there's literally they'll send out payments, bro, that they have no notes. They have no kind of system to code it to say what the payment might be for, that they literally are just sending money out. PAM is what he called it. I don't remember what that acronym is for, but PAM is what the system is called that he was talking about. And they're
very
literally,
outdated.
yes, they literally just send these payments out with no notes tied to them, no kind of characteristics, no nothing to describe what the money is for. So that's how we're getting all these loss of funds, is that, they're literally just sending money out left and right. And we have no way, well, Doge has no way, or the government in general, to connect where this money is going and to who and to why and everything else. Just waste, pure waste.
Yeah, complete waste. One of the things he talked about was Social Security and how it's a Ponzi scheme. And it's how people will say, oh, he's going to cut this and it's going to make a lot of people like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. It's not cutting it. It's having major reform. We are going to go through and figure out, okay, this man should not be on this. He should not be on Medicaid. He is able to go out there and get a job. We need to kick his ass off of it. We're not taking away the single moms who are struggling to get by. It's reform to go through and figure out, okay, who really needs it? Okay, is there an extra couple steps that you have to have in qualification to get approved, right? Do you have qualifications along the way of maybe you're already approved, but you have a yearly review where you have to submit new documentation from your bank statements, different stuff like that, tax papers. It's not cutting it out completely.
No, it's not cutting it out completely, but they're also going through, and from what I've seen, and they're cutting out people that are fucking working the system, dude. So, I don't know if you've seen any of it, but it's become like a trend. So I seen it on TikTok, of course, where there's women out there, bro, that got hella kids by hella different dads, and they're getting thousands of dollars a month in food stamps. They're paying fucking $50 a month for government housing, living in a nice ass house, driving a $300,000 BMW, and just flaunting that shit. While there's real people out here that are single mothers, still have jobs, and still are really trying to do things to make it just work overall. And we got people out here that are completely scamming and demolishing the system, taking way more than their fair share of it and just fucking it up for everybody else, basically.
Yeah. And then you see what the saved money can do. Like, liberals want to have free healthcare. Do I think we should? I don't think we should have complete free healthcare like Canada, because then the quality of it goes down. You have to have more terrible resources in place because the funding's not there like it would be with private. But we can't even have those conversations right now because we're so in debt. We can't change anything that is going to be towards the better because it's going to cost more money, because we're not willing. In the past, we weren't willing to go back and cut the unfiltered shit. And people are like, well, it's just impossible. It's not impossible. The people who are telling us it was impossible was benefiting.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. So, like we've said, and like most people agree, it's just time for a full fucking wiping up the slate. Start fresh and then re-fucking build it, basically. All the processes, just so many different things, bro. I'm excited to see how it turns out, really.
And I invite everyone who has any opinion on Elon to go listen to that pod and just, get the information from him directly. And if you feel like he has ill intent, if you think he really wants to steal your money and he's already the richest man in the world, and listen to that pod and you still feel that way, then you have that right to your opinion. I guess that's all I can say about it.
Fair enough, bud. I agree with you. That shit. If anybody still thinks that after that, then they're a lost cause, dude. I don't got nothing for them.
So, big thing that happened was a big debacle in the Oval Office between the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, Trump, and J.D. Vance. Now, the whole reason why this was hot blood is Marco Rubio, was the head secretary of the administration. He had already spoken to Zelensky, and they had this whole mineral deal worked out. All The whole point of Zelensky being in the Oval Office, coming to America, was to sign it and make it official. It was already drawn up. It was already negotiated. And that was the whole point of getting everybody together, putting the cameras on, was to get it signed. We're making a partnership to end the war, to stop ending people dying. And the reason why, and this is a great move by Trump, and personally, I think, because it would have been one thing to just be like, we're done. We're not funding you no more. You're on your own. We're done funding a forever war that you're not going to win because you can't even keep people because you're down men. No matter how much money and resources we give you, it will not help you if you have to go out there and force Ukrainians to come and serve in the war they don't want to serve in. You're not going to win that way. And it was great on Trump to turn around and be like, not only are we going to cut back and not fund you guys at all, we want our money back in minerals. You clearly don't have any money. So we're going to take minerals, since Ukrainian is so rich in minerals. They have lithium, titanium, and other rare earth materials that are worth trillions. Trump was like, all right, if we're going to cut back, we're going to get our money back. And then the whole thing is, people are like, well, you're going to steal their minerals and not do anything for them. If we have American workers and we have American interests in the minerals at that country, then it will make Russia think twice about invading the whole country of Ukraine. And that's the big thing too, is, 7 years ago, Trump slammed Germany and other NATO nations for paying for Russian energy, and then asking us to defend against Russia. And it's like, it's the whole thing about this whole military industrial complex is they'll sell you on both sides because they want to fund both sides. And then after they destroy everything, they're going to rebuild it. That's what BlackRock does. Now, it's not normal. Like with this whole hearing, when they came in, it was actually pretty formal. JD had actually called him out and said, you come here and you shoot down the deal, and then you're going to come in here in front of the media, and then you're going to question us and bring up all these talking points when you have to force people to join your military. And then when you try to defend what you're doing, you'll try to bring people over and be like, look what we're doing. This is good. But it's all propaganda because you're only letting them see what you want them to see and what you got propped up. Just like when California governor brought China in and he cleaned up all the homelessness off the street, because the only time he did that, because he wanted to make it look good for China. So when you have Zelensky's already someone that's hard to deal with, because in 2022, NBC reported that Joe Biden lost his temper with Zelensky because he wasn't grateful and he was very demanding. He was very demanding of Biden and his administration, who was so willing to give them money. And we remember during that presidency, it was all the time you'd see articles, U.S. approves more money, more aid to Ukraine, more money. And everybody who knew anything about printing dollars to oblivion rolled their eyes. You're like, why? We have so much stuff going on here, and we're just printing. So yeah, with that meeting, basically what happened, they went in there, and it was all cool and collective. JD kind of, talked about him forcing his people to join the war. And then he said, well, lack of better terms, he was basically talking about how, Russia's influence is going to spread across Europe. And if it wasn't for your big, beautiful ocean, you would feel the influence too. And then you just see something flip in Trump. He said, you don't know that. You're not going to come in here. You're not going to disrespect us and then tell us that we're going to feel the wrath of Russia because you want to try to have us fund you to stop them when you can't. And Putin has never came out and said that he's going to take over Poland. He's going to continue into Europe. So that's just crazy.
Yeah, he's not going to do that, bro. He's wanted Ukraine for a long time now. I mean, he could do that down the road. Fuck, who knows? But he's wanted Ukraine for a long time now.
That's what we'll get into, too, is, UK and all them countries in Europe are fully back. They fully want this war. They want to keep funding it. But the thing is, they don't have the money. The U.S. funds 70% of NATO.
And they definitely don't have the fucking military. That's for sure. Mm-mm. And what Zelensky did, unless he goes back and really backpedals now and starts fucking really kissing Trump's ass, all he did by, making that fucking, trying to puff his chest up in the White House, he pretty much just signed his death certificate, bro, because when this war is over, nobody over there is going to be able to keep him alive from Russia. Nobody in the UK is going to be able to fucking protect him and keep him alive. His country's going to get probably overtaken. I would about fucking guarantee it. Ukraine's not winning that war, and there's about one fucking outcome I see. Basically, coming over here was about to be his only hope of refuge because nobody else gonna be able to protect him. And now he done basically fucked that up. So
that was crazy. That man has gotten so much money.
Yeah, and that was a complete negative move on his part. And then he thought, we're about to get into this, but then he thought he was going to go over to that emergency summit in Europe and that they were just going to make everything better. And when they went over there, dude, we're about to get into it, but I just got to say, the way that they treated him like a hero over in Europe after he came over here and did that, that's complete disrespect basically to Trump's face by all of them.
Yeah.
Because that's the
especially
reason
after
they
what he
did that.
in the Oval Office.
Right. Nobody said anything to him about it. Nobody checked him. Like,
On another hot mic moment, under his breath, he called Vice President Vance a bitch in Ukrainian.
yes.
When Vance was going on about how they're forcing their Ukrainian citizens to join the military because they don't want to fight for this guy. They don't believe in this guy.
Oh.
In 2014, it all started when he was propped up and they had all this different stuff. He is someone, when they say he's a dictator, like, oh, yeah, Trump can't be calling him a dictator. Trump's really a dictator. Okay, but this is a man who's literally killed his political opponents. He's jailed his political opponents. He's jailed media outlets and reporters who have went against him in Ukraine. And he's delayed an election because of the war. That's why they won't have an open and free election in Ukraine, because he knows he will not win.
No.
And even high-ranking Ukrainian officials, ever since his Oval Office debacle, there's high-ranking people in his military that are like, yeah, we can't have this guy leading us. And he's a cokehead. He's 100% a cokehead. It's not way past speculation. Everybody knows he's got a fucking coke problem. We don't need you fucking in military war leading the fucking military when you're a fucking cokehead, because that means you're unpredictable and you're a threat to everybody.
No, definitely not a fucking war that we're sitting there funding basically the whole thing on. Fuck
Never ending.
no.
Just like Iraq, just like Afghanistan, never ending. It's not going to end. And that was the whole thing. As George Orwell said it best in a banned government book. He said in 1984, the war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. Hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance.
Yeah, and like you said, Europe is wanting that war to continue. They all want that war to continue on. So there's going to be no end to that war until both parties are interested in ending it. And Putin said multiple times he's ready for it to be over. So it's just going to be crazy. And I mean, you could say that if he keeps saying that, then why doesn't he just stop attacking Ukraine? But that's not going to be the outcome at this point. Ukraine doesn't have a leg to stand on, bro. And it's getting to the point when that funding really stops. I mean, they're going to be like a fucking pirate with a peg leg, just hanging out on that leg, and fucking they're just going to sweep that shit out, and they're going to be fucked.
Exactly.
And I mean,
because we're the superpower propping up NATO right now. And NATO wants to go into World War III when we fund 70% of NATO. So I guarantee it, Trump's going to leave NATO. And people will make him look like the evilest person NATO was. They'll talk about why NATO was created and all. It's completely different. We live in a whole different world. A whole different environment than what that was created for. And the whole point, it's like I was telling you earlier, when your big brother and your little brother is mouthing off to everybody because he knows big brother's going to back him up. Yep. What happens if big brother doesn't back him up no more? He's going to stop running his mouth. And he's going to get his ass kicked. He might stop running his mouth in. But that's the whole thing is Zelensky wants two things. He wants nuclear weapons in order to protect himself against Russia, or he wants a NATO membership. And Russia has been adamant since day one. They do not want Ukraine part of NATO because that's on their doorstep. And we cannot be upset because if China, India, Russia, BRICS, all on a whole, created an alliance with Canada or Mexico and put ports on the Texas border or the North border, then that would be an all-out war. That was the whole reason why we freaked out when they put missiles on Cuba. So we can't be hypocritical when Russia's like, I don't want NATO bases near my border. And we have to respect that because we wouldn't want Russian borders or Chinese borders along our bases along our borders. And that's what goes back to even in 2014 when Obama was president. The government in Ukraine was overrun by a U.S. coup and overthrown. That was the whole point now is President Putin has seen this coming. He had seen that eventually that's the steps they're trying to get into is putting Ukraine part of NATO. And that's why he invaded the day after Kamala, as vice president, went on there and was like, yeah, we're going to try to work on NATO or Ukraine becoming part of NATO. And that's what kicked off this whole thing. So it really makes you think if Kamala did get in, World War III would have started. But there's still a chance that World War III still might happen. The U.S. will just try its best not to be part of it like they did in the First World War and the Second one. But something always happens that fucking drags them in. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But when it comes to Ukraine, UK, France, all these companies, if you want to step up to big bad Russia, you're on your own. Whatever that looks like at the end, I don't give a shit. I'm anti-interventionist. I don't want to be over there. You either want to be big brother or you don't. And you can't partially be there. Like you can't do what Biden was doing and be like, oh, we're not at war with Russia, but we're funding the war that's against Russia.
Yeah, and none of those European countries have the military, the funding, the manpower, nothing to be
They
big
rely
brother.
on us.
Yeah,
us,
bro,
the
I'm telling you,
U.S.
I'm telling you, if another fucking hot take here, but if the United States gets out of NATO, I guarantee we make a fucking alliance with Russia. And if the United States and Russia have an alliance, then nobody else in the world will be able to do shit.
And that's a crazy thing. Like we talked about in last week's episode, is people would say, "Oh, there it is. He solidified himself as a dictator, the next Hitler." It's like, but you guys don't talk about China. Never talk about China. Never ill word of China. Maybe it's because they're so infiltrated in our economy. Maybe they're so infiltrated in our politics and shit, our fucking farmland. China owns so much farmland of ours. For what reason? As well as Bill Gates, who has ties to China. But all they want to talk about is Russia this, Russia that. Ever since 2015, 2014, way before now. Always Russia, 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 Russia. I'm starting to think, I'm not saying Putin's a great guy, but I worry about China way more than I worry about Russia, because they said on the record that they want to see our demise. And they play the long game. Art of war is the long game, and China's playing that shit.
Yeah, bro. And it just comes down to it. It's like, like you said, people are going to fucking drag Trump through the dirt on that shit. But it's like, what negative are we going to see from if we did have an alliance with Russia? Speaking hypothetically, of course, what negative are we going to see?
No, it's the worst thing for the elite people who bank on that not happening. And that's why they'll push every media outlet they have to push that. It's like what I was saying earlier is like, if UK want to put boots on the ground, it's like, who are you going to put out there? We're talking about the UK who sentenced a man for 20 months in prison for a social media post. Talking about the same UK that is ready to put boots on the ground, but you literally are overrun because you're open borders, because UK and France are more woke than we've ever been. And
There
you've
you
let
go.
all these people come in, and Elon's even exposed a lot of that stuff that's going on with these, trying to, how to say it without YouTube striking our video down, just the nasty stuff that the police is letting happen to young women over there, and young minors. And if you speak out against it, you're racist. All I know, if I lived in the UK, I'd be in prison because I would have went on a spree. But like, it just blows my mind that they're going to sit here and tote their big, and like you said with the summit, you're going to tote your big pants. What ground do you have to stand on at all? Because we're 70% of the funding coming from the U.S. If we come out, NATO is standing on nothing. And then at
It's
that
like,
point, it'll be even easier for them to be overtaken.
right. It's like, what are they saying that they're going to fund Ukraine? They're going to give them the money that we're giving to them. Europe is going to fucking send Ukraine the money that the United States is sending to them. Like, they don't got shit, bro.
And the big aspect of it, too, is the money that the UK, we're going to give you guys, we're going to help, since the US and Trump isn't going to help you, we're going to give you $100 billion, we're going to give you $110 billion. But it's a loan. When Biden was giving all that money, that wasn't a loan. We had no intentions of getting that money back or seeing it work for us in any manner. Okay, France, they want the money back. Why? Because they can't afford to fund that war without some kind of mineral deposits. And that was another shit show, is because Zelensky, before he even pulled up to the Oval Office to sign the mineral deal with the U.S., already signed a 100-year mineral deal with the U.K. And that had not broken. That was under wraps, and no one had heard about it until all the shit blew up. And it just shows how corrupt, truly, the president is, how truly the government in Ukraine, not the people, not the nation, the government, and how corrupt it's been. People have always talked about how corrupt the government is in Ukraine.
Oh, it's a shit show, bro. It's a shit show.
Yeah,
and I think
dive into that summit, dude, because that's crazy how after the whole blow up in the Oval Office, they're going to have a summit and exclude the U.S., which is the biggest slap in the face, and wouldn't have been there anyways. But yeah, go ahead and dive into that.
Well, that just is just a start to what we just finished talking about, and what could potentially happen. I mean, if our supposed allies are gonna act like this and do shit like this, why would we even want them to be our allies at the end of the day? Because that's not behavior that you would associate with somebody that's your ally. But yeah, I got some notes on that summit. So basically, it was hosted by the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to tackle the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war and broaden European security concerns. Trump and Zelensky's meeting left Europe feeling sidelined by the U.S.'s solo push for peace talks with Russia. Starmer kicked things off by calling it a crossroads in history, urging Europe to step up and take charge of the Ukraine situation. Like, how are they going to do that, bro, first of all? And then Zelensky got a warm welcome. King Charles met him, and Brits cheered his motorcade, showing Europe's got his back, even as the U.S. support wobbles. Posts on X flagged Canada's presence as a sign of shifting alliances, with some even calling it the beginning of the end of NATO. Either way, it's clear Europe's trying to fix its own muscle here, with or without the U.S., bro. Just think about that. So that's the beginning of the end for Ukraine, right? Or for NATO. And if that's the truth, basically what they're saying is that the rest of NATO is going to wash their hands with the United States and pick up Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then they're going to fucking do what? They're just going to get fucking taken over by anybody that wants to.
Yeah,
Like
there's
you
no
said,
reality where Ukraine wins this war.
No, and like you said, bro, not to get religion into it, bro, but like, you know, the UK is already overran, bro. Europe is overran. Their citizens are not safe. They are not happy.
Not happy. Yeah.
No, they don't feel good. Like, dude, that's what I'm saying. People talk so much shit about the US, but I mean, we're chilling over here, buddy.
Yeah, we got patriotism, buddy. Even if we don't trust the Biden administration, at least we're going to defend our home front.
Yep, 10 times out of 10, and that's fuck the ocean. Like, yeah, the ocean's cool. That's definitely a good thing for us. But at the end of the day,
geographically, it's the greatest advantage we've ever had as a nation.
It is, but what I'm saying, bro, is that's what these other countries don't realize, dude. There's more guns here than people by a shitload.
Yeah.
And everybody here is willing to lay it all on the line to protect this fucking dirt. And I mean,
that's why we can't give them up. That's why we can't give them up. All those other nations gave them up. And that's why you can't, for whatever reason. And that's what Elon said in an interview a long time ago. He said, why are you so pro Second Amendment? It's like, well, can you promise me that there's never going to be tyranny in the government? Ever. You can't promise that. You can't promise there's not going to be any tyranny in the government, that some leader's not going to come in and pull a Hitler. And, you have to be able to defend yourself. And it's not even the government, too. It's like, I should be able to have guns to protect my family and loved ones, my land, against any force that's out there that wants to harm us. So,
foreign or domestic, baby.
Yeah, and it just blows my mind because they have a lot of fucking nerve, honestly. And come in our Oval Office, call our vice president a bitch, argue with our president in front of the cameras when everything behind the door, everybody's like, this is Trump. This is Trump making a mockery of our country and putting it all on camera. What does full transparency look like? We've seen Trump's first cabinet meeting be videoed. We've seen his meetings with the UK, with France, with Ukraine, all videoed. And that's what full transparency looks like. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. Trump didn't know that Zelensky was going to pull that shit at all.
No, and it'll get no more transparent than what we're seeing right now. So it's an absolutely beautiful thing to see, and I'm 100% here for all of it.
Now, where there's a little lack of transparency is with the whole Epstein files. Pam Bondi did declare, I don't remember what day it was last week, but she basically said they're going to drop tomorrow. We got it on my desk, we're going to drop tomorrow. Well, I come to find out, what she did drop was stuff we already knew, a lot of redacted information. So really put her in a bad light because she made a promise all this stuff was going to come out. It didn't come out. And then now the whole thing is there's actually a whole debacle because Epstein was arrested, jailed in New York. All the evidence and everything, most of the good evidence is in New York. The recordings, the video recordings, audio recordings are in New York. And come to find out, hundreds of thousands of files had actually been withheld from Pam Bondi when she requested them from New York, and completely goes against, like, there's going to be people that get jail time for this. And with the FBI, a lot of FBI whistleblowers and FBI agents, retired agents talked about how everything is logged to a specific ID number, employee ID number. So they're going to know exactly who deleted what, who suppressed what. And she was irate, sent an email invoice to Kash Patel and said, I want you to go to New York yourself, figure out who, why, what, and get everything you can. And I want names because we're going to prosecute them as soon as they get back.
It makes you wonder, bro, if you think about this critically, it makes you wonder who or what information exactly was on that shit to make a member of the FBI delete it or withhold it, knowing that they're going to face jail time for that it's going to uproot their entire lives and that they'll be able to directly connect it back to them and know exactly who did it. It makes you wonder how, where was it that, because it's like, it almost couldn't be that they got paid, bro, because the person that's so high up on the list or whatever, they're not going to know the exact agent. I mean, I guess they would maybe, that got the information, that's been logging it, that's dealing with handling it. But it's just like, why?
Well, a big thing that FBI, a retired FBI talked about is that it wouldn't be like the bottom end of the FBI. Like, they don't have access to those files to be able to delete them. Like, there's levels to that. So it'd be high-ranking FBI officials. And this is where I'm very critical of what Pam did, because you cannot make false promises. It makes you look bad when you say, oh, we're going to drop it tomorrow. And then even though there's information that's withheld, you don't have any public thing about it. I have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they just got in. The subcommittee hearings were drawn out for so long. People are thinking, oh, Trump's been in for so long. Why is this not happening? Well, he just got his people around him, for one. And for two, how can you join the FBI and run the FBI as Kash Patel, and everybody in that mug is completely against what you're doing, and you can't trust anybody? It's like you're a one-man army in there trying to make all these changes. Now, Kash Patel shouldn't have said, I'm going to release it day one, because he should have known that this was going to be way bigger than just release day one. And that's where you kind of have to get a benefit of the doubt. At least they're trying. We had administration, the last one, who wasn't even giving it any thought. We're not even going to touch it. We're not even going to release any information about it. And you have to at least give them the benefit of the doubt and just be patient. I think the information can come out. We'll cover it more in depth as we get more information. That's basically what's out now.
That's another thing that makes you really wonder, though, because for them to even give that promise to begin with, knowing that these things that had to happen to get them in office were going to take some time, they knew that. They knew it wasn't going to be straight and easy. So it makes you think that if they were going to promise to release all that information, then they had to think that they were at least having, most of cooperation, and that people wouldn't be withholding information from the government, within the government. But then here we are. Here comes the day when the info was actually supposed to be released, and then they find out that the information has been withheld. So you got to think, bro, that probably was a complete shock for them as well.
Yeah.
Pam and Kash Patel are probably thinking, okay, we requested the information. They sent it over. I asked repeatedly if I had all the information, and Pam was told multiple times she did. And then come to find out, she's been given fucking crumbs on the investigation. Thousands of files have been withheld from her. And you got to think, with them saying those promises to begin with, this kind of thing wasn't even crossing their mind, that FBI employees were going to be trying to delete files or withhold information from them. And here we are.
Yeah. It makes their job harder. So we have to be understanding. And does that mean Pam Bondi should lose her job? No. Does it mean Kash Patel lose his job? No.
No, but it's like to me though, that those two almost aren't even a part of this situation. And what I mean is I don't understand how people could even think of reprimanding them for this when they did their job. They've put the request in for the information. What's crazy is to think that if our FBI is doing this, then everything's infiltrated. What's not infiltrated at this point besides fucking Trump and the immediate cabinet members that he just got in?
All the agencies, every single one. If it's as small as USAID, IRS, FBI, DEA, all of it, they all have to be checked, because, there's cracks and crevices everywhere. It's like, oh, here's 80 billion here. Here's 10 billion here. 500 million here. It's like everything has to be checked.
And it's going to get, I think, way worse before it gets better, because I think that just this situation alone has brought a lot more light in the eyes into the aspect of they are going to have to start really deep diving in the FBI at this point. Everything. They're going to have to look into even the agencies that are supposed to be protecting us from within as it is. They're going to have to deep dive them and figure that all out after we go through the IRS and figure out the money side of it. Now we got our own agents lying to the government. So everything seems to be compromised.
Yeah. And one thing I talked about it on PB's podcast today with Tate was, and it's a good point, is when you're juggling a nuclear bomb of information like this, when it comes to the files, there's going to be people on both sides of the aisle that's on those files. There's going to be people who have recordings of them doing the most outlandish shit out there, and they should be, and to some people, completely castrated and hung in front of the public for what they were on those recordings doing. But there's going to be people on that same file who took a one-time plane ride with Epstein on his plane, which, for example, RFK Jr. and his wife took a ride with Ghislaine and Epstein on his jet to specifically go to a charity event. And he's on the flight logs. And that's the thing that they were talking about on the podcast today, is the media is going to take the 1% of the files and run with it, even though they'll have whoever, Tom Hanks, Oprah, whoever on the one side doing crazy stuff. They're going to run with the 1-2% of it And that's kind of what they have to juggle is like, okay, we need to be prepared for what all outcomes this is going to bring.
And I think that at the end of the day, when we're talking strictly flight logs, that pretty much proves nothing. Minus
Exactly.
outside of, people that
Critical
flew,
thinkers will come to that conclusion.
right. But it really just matters in the terms of the logs on who flew to the island frequently. That's something. But if
how many people flew there and was like, this is weird. I'm not coming back. I'm not.
Right.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the hostility. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I won't say anything because I don't want you to kill me, but I'm getting the fuck out of here. There's a lot of celebrities that got pushed off balconies.
Yep. So this shit's gonna get way crazier before it gets better. So it'll be this is gonna be crazy to keep up on and watch too. But I think it's necessary.
On a lighter note, last thing we'll cover. Huge announcement. Trump's crypto reserve bombshell. The U.S. is going to have a strategic crypto reserve, very similar to like the gold reserve back when we were on the gold standard. And this was on March 2nd. Donald Trump announced via Truth Social that his administration is moving forward with a U.S. crypto strategic reserve, explicitly naming XRP, Solana, and Cardano as key assets. And this is huge. For years, people have talked about how crypto is a scam. It's not going anywhere. And the only reason they have any reason to say that is because you always have to worry about regulation from the government. Oh, the government's going to shut it down. It's not going to go anywhere because it's going to be hindered. It's going to be shut down. Well, now we have an administration that is pro blockchain technology. It's pro crypto. And just initially, bro, and XRP surged 30%. Solana climbed 25%. ADA saw 50 to 70% at its peak.
Let me put a thought in your head on this one. It's a little convenient that all that shit dropped, and then they say that shit. They fucking bought in like a motherfucker, knowing that they were gonna drop this bombshell and shoot that shit back up.
Yeah, 100%. Because when you look at it, bro, they've approved ETFs. So when you have a spot ETF, that gives hedge funds, firms that handle your 401k, your IRAs, that gives them permission to offer you avenues with your retirement to invest in these assets. That's what a spot ETF does. It actually buys assets, so then their clients can buy into those assets that they bought. Not how you should invest in crypto. In my personal opinion, you should physically own the crypto on your own wallet. And if you're interested in that, you can always DM us. You can look it up yourself. There's a lot of platforms that don't physically own the asset. You just own shares of what they supposedly own. Anyways.
Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the biggest thing is they have the spot ETFs now. So now hedge funds can invest in it, and we're still seeing the prices come down. So I am pretty adamant that this is going to be the next 2 years is going to be the best time to invest in crypto in our lifetimes. And they're going to do whatever they can to drive the price down because they want to get in at a better buying point. It's very common in stock market and crypto. It's very easier in crypto for market manipulation. So avoid the meme coins. Completely gambling. There's a lot of good projects. Most of my assets are in ADA Cardano. I'm a firm believer in that. A lot of people are XRP fans, and a lot of people love Solana for their meme coins. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it.
Don't necessarily avoid the meme coins, bro. Meme coins have made middle-class millionaires, but do not put a single cent more into that than you are willing to lose because you could very well get liquidated in an hour. So just keep that in mind.
And I think it's great, bro, because, I mean, we've seen the craze in 2020, 2021, 2022 of Dogecoin, NFTs, and there's money there to be made. Way more. Because, like, especially with these projects, man, if you're going to play in it, get in, get your 10, your 20, your 30%, maybe get out. And that's how you want to play. And that's great returns. I mean, we're talking about hedge funds here, and they're beating each other off for 12 to 14% annually. So if you're able to go on a trade, you get 20+%. That's a dub. You need to be very proud of that. You need to take the money, you need to run, and you need to evaluate for your next trade. Now, you can either go that direction, or you can just wait until everybody's freaking out. Like when Bitcoin dropped below 90K a week ago, and all these projects under Bitcoin, all these projects, they dropped 30 to 40%, and they were at lows from last year. So it's great buying time. With this announcement, it did have a pump, but there's going to be different times. And if you're like, I just want to park money here, then advocate 10, 5, 10, 20% of whatever you put in a month. And over time, the trust me, with how explosive these gains are with this kind of market, this is the wild, wild west of finance. And it will be, it's how it is. And when you put money in, you're going to be able to see that return and it's just, it will encourage you to look more into stuff, look into more financial stuff, and it will open that door for you, especially when it comes to all these projects, because there are a lot of projects that are shitty and that will scam you. You should not be buying Hawk Tuah coin in any reality. Any reality. What is she going to do for you? Is she going to get more popular? I would say she's phased out since her whole rise. The Trump coin's different. If you truly believe in Trump and you think he's going to be able to be the best president of all time, and at the 4 years, his shit's going to be from $14 that's at now to $50, that's a 4x, 3x right there, maybe you take that investment. I'm not going to take that investment personally, but
No,
you have to look into projects.
yeah, yes, that's what I was about to say, bro. And like, we're not experts by any means, but just to put this out there for people, stocks are much easier to read. And what I mean by that is like a stock goes hand in hand with a company. And Bitcoin is kind of the same, but people can literally, bro, there was like a 4-year-old I saw that was on live stream creating coins and listing them on the market. And then people in his live stream were pumping it up, and then he was pulling out. And he was like 14. So that's what people got to realize. Look into the ticker, look into the coin, look at the people running it, look at what they're doing, see if it has any utility, and go from there. But don't just be buying it into it because fucking Joe Schmoes down the street says it's going to the moon.
Yeah. And I'd say and I'm not, like you said, we're not experts by any means. We've been looking into shits for years now, but still I wouldn't deem us experts. And we're definitely not financial advisors. Do not take any of this as financial advice at all. And you have to see, like, all these countries are buying Bitcoin and having it part of their government. All these agencies, all these hedge funds are all buying up Bitcoin. And yeah, they're not buying up certain other coins, but the whole thing about the Bitcoin market is the money trickles down to the other project. If more money gets invested into Bitcoin, more money trickles down in the crypto market. That's why you have XRP, Solana, and Cardano now gaining traction, when 5-10 years ago, no one gave a shit about them. It was just Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's just Bitcoin, Ethereum, which Ethereum was later mentioned with Bitcoin as part of that strategic reserve. So, I mean, now is the best time. If you're going to get in, it's going to be the best time this year and next to get into it. I think, honestly, if you get in now, you should have a nice little Christmas budget by the time November rolls around. Just my personal thing.
Yeah, and we'll see ups and downs. We'll probably see, a time in a month from now that was a little bit better time to get in than now. But then also in a month from now, we could be fucking 20% up. So it really just depends on, your financial situation and how you want to play it and when you want to make your moves. Just got to look at the graphs and make the best strategic decision for you yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'd say, and what I was saying, we're not financial advisors. And the reason I said that is because the 2 tips I would give to anybody who's getting into the crypto field is 2 things. For one, not your keys, not your crypto. So if you don't physically own the crypto and you have it on a wallet with certain security keys, and well, that's not to get too depth in it, you don't own your crypto. Exchanges get hacked all the time. You need to physically own the crypto and send it to your actual wallet. And other than that, also, price is not the only thing that matters. Market cap is just as, if not more important than price. So once you understand what market cap is and volume of money that goes into that market cap, then you can truly understand what the potential of the price can be to what your return might be. So 2 things you definitely got to look into if you're even wanting to jump into this Wild West bullshit.
Yes, sir. It's a good one. I think at the end, I think right now it's already better than the stock market personally, but it really just depends on how volatile you're trying to be. The crypto market is very volatile no matter what you're into. But I mean, if you want to make money, then there you go.
And this is the most crypto friendly administration we've ever seen by far, times 100. It's at least going to be a good investment for the next 3 years, at least. So it's at least something to look at if you're serious about making money, if you're serious about getting some kind of return back, and you don't trust the stock market. There's a lot of people who invest and they don't trust the stock market. They stick to real estate, or they do trust the stock market in the sense that they'll invest in a 401k and they'll just let them figure it out. You just figure it out. I'll park my money here in this IRA, this 401k, and you figure it out for me. But I really do think the power is to handle the money yourself, because you could double the amount that you get from a 401k or IRA easily.
Yeah, bro. And who knows, years from now, we could literally be in a situation to where, Bitcoin is basically the standard currency of the world at that point. And everybody gets, basically each company has an altcoin. You get paid in that altcoin or whatever the fuck. Who knows where it's going to go. But especially if that fucking audit of Fort Worth goes poorly, we might see some drastic changes.
Yeah. I mean, if we don't have gold, you're going to see. Now, that's the crazy thing, because in recent past, the S&P 500 and the stock market, or S&P stock market and crypto markets have been tied together, and they have gone up together, they've gone down together, but there's going to come a point where they decouple. And I think that might be at the Fort Knox. Once they realize that there's no gold and that the dollar is really not worth shit, which we already knew it wasn't, it's really going to make people look at Bitcoin because and also gold and other assets that aren't stocks and the dollar. And I think you're going to see crypto and Bitcoin go way up, and then the stock market either stay the same or go way down because they're going to be like, dude, I can't trust the U.S. government stock. I can't. They don't even have the gold. They said, how deep does this go? If it's Fort Knox, they only have the gold there. How deep really is this? So that's when people are going to start looking for other assets, new assets.
Bro. Yeah, and I think now the coupling of the stock market and Bitcoin together has a lot to do with it's a lot of the same big players in both of them. So they sell off at the same time, whatever. But once we see that change, bro, if we see a drastic pullout of the stock market from a lot of people simultaneously, I don't even know how that would play out. That'd probably, I don't know. That'd fuck some shit up.
Yeah. I mean, it will be in uncharted times, and and no matter what happens, there will be money to be made. As long as you got your ears open, your eyes open, there will be money to be made. And if all else fails, just buy land, because God's not making any more of it.
I keep that cash on hand and buy land because
and that's something I forgot to mention too, is if you don't feel like it's a good time to buy, just keep cash ready to go. That's the best thing you can do, is be cash heavy. That's what not Bill Gates, fuck him. That's what
Warren Buffett.
That's what Warren Buffett is doing. He's very cash heavy. All these big time investors, they've been selling out for years. And this is the time to be cash heavy. You never know when an opportunity comes knocking and you'll need that cash. Rather it's to flip a truck. Oh, I got this diesel truck for $2,000 and I know I can flip it for $6,000 or $7,000, but you don't have $2,000 because you don't keep a cash reserve ready for shit like that.
Opportunity be knocking.
Exactly. So, man, I think we've rambled on enough. That's basically everything. This episode was kind of thrown together. Not much news. Hopefully, we'll have some more developments on the Epstein files. I don't know if we're ever going to get developments on the JFK, RFK, MLK files. Hopefully, that comes within the next week. And also, we'll just see what's going on with Ukraine and if World War III is really around the corner, because it looks like UK wants to put boots on the ground. I don't know if France wants to put boots on the ground, but I don't think the U.S. will be involved in the World War III, and I don't think that, it'll get passed. I think it's all theater. I think they're going to get called out on their bluff, and I think it'll be okay. But we have to stay wary and we have to stay informed.
Yes, sir. And one thing I'm going to be really paying attention to is to see what kind of, if any, repercussions come from this whole ordeal with the FBI in New York, which there absolutely should be some consequences for what they've done. And also with these other, that emergency summit in London. Something needs to happen for that, dude. The way that they treated Zelensky and everything else, dude, something's gotta happen, because they pretty much just backhanded us by doing that whole thing. So
the disrespect is real, and everybody just wants Trump to be a bitch, and he's just not a bitch. He's a lot of things. You can say a lot of things about Trump, but he's not a bitch.
No, he's gonna stand on business 10 times out of 10.
Either. Exactly. Nope. Well, shit, that concludes it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Week 6 pod. Be back for Week 7, Episode 7, and we'll roll this shit up for another one. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Be safe, everybody.